Broker with Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors. And today's contract tip has to do with the financing contingency exhibits in the GAR contracts package. So if your contract is subject to a financing contingency, whether it be a conventional financing contingency, FHA, or VA, and you are binding under a GAR contract with that exhibit, then after you get past the financing contingency time frame, so a buyer does not terminate based on this contingency time frame, there is a paragraph that states the right of the seller to request evidence of the buyer's ability to close. So that paragraph reads, and it is in all of those exhibits, that if the financing contingency ends without the buyer terminating based on that agreement, the seller shall have the right but not the obligation to request of the buyer a loan commitment from any of the lenders with whom the buyer is seeking a mortgage. This loan commitment letter should state the type of loan, the amount and the terms of the loan, and the conditions for funding the loan, and that shall be deemed as evidence. Now, it goes on to state that it is not a guarantee that the mortgage loan will be funded or that the buyer will have the ability to close. Of course, all things come up and happen prior to closing that might prevent a buyer from closing. But the seller does have the right to request this evidence or loan commitment letter. Once the seller sends this notice to a buyer has 7 days to provide that loan commitment letter. A seller may not send this request within 7 days from closing. So that's in all of the financing contingency exhibits in GAR. The only problem is that's all it says. GAR has left us hanging. There is nothing that states what happens if the buyer does not comply. What happens if the seller does not receive this loan commitment letter? Does the seller then have the right to terminate? No, that's not provided for. So GAR's on the right step to help sellers get that loan commitment letter on these buyers, but there's absolutely no teeth to that paragraph. So unfortunately, it's kind of put agents in an awkward position because the seller is going to say, hey, I want that loan commitment letter, go get it. So the seller's agent sends off the notice asking the buyer to provide the loan commitment letter, don't get it. And then the seller asks you, the listing agent, well, what do I do now? What do I do now? What do I do now? Nothing you can do in terms of that specific paragraph or that specific provision because there are no additional consequences or teeth to that provision. So just wanted to bring to your attention the awareness of what is in there, but that it is lacking a little bit. So hopefully GAR will add some teeth to that paragraph in future contract forms. Thank you so much. Again, Dana Sparks, broker with Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education.